Dr. O'Carroll, yesterday at ESOF we heard from the European Commissioner, Ms. Morrigan-Quinn, of her commitment to drive research and innovation in Europe through the Horizon 2020 programme. As someone with a significant expertise in European research policy, what are your initial thoughts on this programme?
Very positive. And I think that one of the statements of the Commissioner are highly significant in that she said that she wants to put science at the heart of Europe and Europe at the heart of science. And I must say it's the first time I've heard a Commissioner make a statement of that nature, to talk about science in itself rather than simply the application of science. The applications of science and innovation are built into the programme, into this new programme, but it is not the absolute goal, and I think that's a really important feature. In addition to that, this programme has been divided into three core parts: excellent science, competitive industries and better societies. And that gives you immediately a picture of what the intention is within this programme. The biggest challenge is going to be the budget. The Commissioner is committed to a budget of 80 billion. The European Parliament would like to see 100 billion. But the big challenge is, what will the finance ministers say? The science ministers have agreed, but there's going to be a long protracted period of negotiation now, which into next year. And indeed, as with most programmes of this nature, we'll find that there won't be a decision taken probably until December of next year as to the final budget of this programme. And I keep in mind that in the 7th framework programme the budget was proposed at 70 billion and it dropped down to 55. Our proposal this time, at least the current proposal, is 80 billion. Let's hope it stays very close.
I was also very encouraged by the Commissioner's statement of putting Europe at the heart of science and science at the heart of Europe. To give it a European cancer perspective, how do you think this approach and this three-pronged approach that you mentioned will help the cancer researcher, the cancer physician, and by extension the cancer patient?
Well, I think it can help all. It's not guaranteed it will. I'll never say things will, but it certainly can. I think if one starts at the end, in a sense, the third theme of the Horizon 2020 programme is better societies, and inbuilt to that is the whole area around health and well-being for society, for its citizens. That will provide real opportunities for research in this area, and indeed the type of bench-to-bedside research we talk about in Ireland. In the case of competitive industries, there's a link here as well, because this links into the pharmaceutical industries, into medical devices, and all of the relevant industries that may have an impact in cancer, dealing with cancer. And of course, at the heart of this is the fact that 28 billion of the 80 billion is proposed for excellent science. And that's excellent science funded through the European Research Council, through the Marie Curie actions, to building research infrastructures across Europe, could be tissue banks, biobanks. And even separate to this, one must remember that concomitant with the Horizon 2020 programme is the European Research Area. And what has been integrated into Horizon 2020 is open access to knowledge and data. And that should mean that researchers around Europe will have access to publications, international publication, of all Horizon funded research, and indeed access to the data. This will give researchers, for example in cancer research, access to data of other researchers around Europe. But I think also it'll certainly give them support in doing the fundamental research that is necessary to develop the therapies, the drugs and the other approaches to dealing with cancer.
Well, that's very encouraging that we can see across the cancer continuum, from the basic research right through to delivering care to the patient, that all of this aspects will be covered by Horizon 2020. Innovation in health is an area that's been flagged as being a key component both of Europe 2020 and also of the Innovation Union. How do we develop new innovative approaches that are sustainable while also sustaining European development in relation to economic development?
I think the first thing is that the Horizon 2020 programme is seen as an integral part of European economic development. It is not seen as something separate, that research is carried out in some separate space to economic development. Horizon 2020 is a proposal to fund research, but what Horizon 2020 is integrated into the entire Innovation Union policy of the European Commission, which was published back in 2010. And that was the concept of building an innovation union where research and innovation go hand in hand for building a better society. So the research is built right into that. It's not something separate. There are many opportunities in this programme, I think, and I also believe it's up to communities like, say, the cancer research community to come up with their own innovative ideas of how they can do things better, working between universities, hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, etc. There's an opportunity here. And I think that because the new programme actually is looking for new things, looking for new ideas, new ways of working together, people should latch on to that and be innovative themselves how they do things.
I think that's very encouraging, I would agree. I mean, one of the aspirations, obviously, of this new approach is the European research area, and to drive a partnership in research excellence, which will also help promote this economic growth. How do you feel we can best realise this ambition?
Well, I think that there's a number of elements in the European research area. When you stand back and look at if you stand back for a moment and say, what's the European research area about? It's about building an open market for the free movement of knowledge and people around Europe. Now, it's fairly much modelled, without any modesty, it's modelled on the US system, of the fact that the US is built up of a number of states, but there is a free and open movement of knowledge between all of those states. We don't have that in Europe at a number of different levels. At the level of the movement of people, there are often barriers for people moving, and I think one of the challenges within the areas of cancer research is the difficulties in research careers between universities and hospitals right across Europe. It's not fully solved, and we don't have any, even at a national level here in Ireland, we don't have an integrated system that works well in that area. Whereas we certainly don't have it at a European level. That's going to be a challenge to open up the system more. We also have currently across Europe, even in terms of recruitment, we have a lot of countries which operate in a very closed environment, and closed environments do not promote good quality, high excellent research. I mentioned before about open access to knowledge and data. Open access to knowledge has been implemented in a number of countries over the years, and in fact in Ireland we have our own open access portal to all of the university publications. But what hasn't happened yet, apart from some areas in the social sciences, we don't have access to data. Open access to this data. And I think the Commission is on the brink. They haven't quite done it yet, but they are on the brink of saying that there should be full open access to data across Horizon 2020. And I think that will be most important.
Cancer incidence is obviously increasing in Europe and soon will bypass or surpass cardiovascular disease. I'll just do that again, I think. Cancer incidence is increasing in Europe and soon will surpass cardiovascular disease as a major cause of disease-related mortality. How can we ensure that research priorities in relation to cancer in Europe reflect this increased disease burden?
Well, I think that's a very important point, because different countries have different priorities for their own research depending on what are the most significant and major diseases within those states. At a European level, I think organisations who are responsible for research in that area or for that particular sector should be lobbying very strongly for this, should be making it clear to their own governments very, very strongly that cancer is a rising problem, an increasing problem. Governments often work they carry a lot of historical baggage in terms of what they think is the most significant disease, be it cardiovascular or other. And if that's changing, if cancer is becoming dominant, then that must be communicated properly, because there is the opportunity within programmes like Horizon 2020 to alter budgets over time. The overall budget for part of the programme, say for the Better Societies, is fixed around, it's going to be around 32 billion, according to the 80 billion proposal. Now, the internal breakdown of that budget is not set. And there's an opportunity to fight for a greater share of that budget when one can prove that cancer is becoming more significant than other diseases.
So the cancer community needs to get out there.
Absolutely, yes. It is lobbying. And I think, the Commissioner stated it, she said it last night as well, scientists don't lobby. And as a politician, she knows how effective lobbying is. And it is one, though, that whereas individual scientists can lobby to some extent, but societies and organisations can be very effective.
As coordinator of the Marie Curie programmes in Ireland and also a member of the European Research Area Review Committee, how do you envisage that we ensure that the next generation of both researchers and also clinical scientists have the right skills mix to be both competitive but also innovative?
Well, I think this is what we need to do is to continue what's been emerging in Europe over the past 9 to 10 years, and at the stage of doctoral training, I think we need to put into place very well structured doctoral programmes for students. Now, this is it is well established in some countries now, in the UK, in Ireland, in Germany, in some of the Nordic countries. But we need to make that mainstream. And the reason why is that a doctoral candidate coming into a traditional program may have gone to one supervisor. They may have stayed within the lab within the university for the entire period of their PhD. Within structured programs, they have opportunities to be placed in relevant environments, be it the hospital, be it industry, whatever relevant employment sector, and particularly for the sector of medical researchers, in that they need to be working, they need to have access to the real working environment where they will remain probably for the rest of their lives in terms of their career. And that gives people the opportunity to make their research more relevant. In addition to that, during their doctorate, they do need training. They may need training, disciplinary training, because people coming into particular programs, say in neurosciences, may come in from a biochemical background. They will need training perhaps in computer imaging or in other relevant areas that will be relevant for the particular diseases and areas that they're going to be working in. Combined with that, we already have that done fairly well at doctoral level. We need to now mainstream that beyond that into postdoctoral level. And I do think there's a real challenge in career paths for researchers in between the university lab and the clinical and the translational medicine. I think that's still, it certainly is a challenge in Ireland. I think it's a challenge across Europe.
And also, I suppose we're generating some of our brighter stars in Europe through these programs. How do we stop them from moving away from Europe?
We've got to give them long-term career prospects. It's as simple as that. We don't have to guarantee people jobs. Good people don't mind that. Good people know they will always get a job. But what they want to see is they can look over the horizon and say, I can see where I'll be in 20 years' time because I've got opportunities. Without opportunities, people will leave. And there are far greener pastures across the world for them.
I know you have a great passion for young researchers and the role of innovative training. Do you feel that our current PhD model is the correct one? Or do you think we really need to re-engineer it to allow more flexibility, particularly in the academia-industry intersect for young European researchers?
I'll start at the back at the end of that. The answer is yes. I think we are reforming it. I think it's going in the right direction. But we do need to get more and more opportunities for young researchers to spend part of their PhD in employment-relevant sectors, be it in the hospital environment or the pharmaceutical environment, whatever is the most appropriate environment for those young researchers. Because what I've seen from those programs that actually do run with that integrated system of the laboratory, the bench, the workplace, it produces researchers which are far more motivated and are far more employable, and therefore from a personal point of view they can access careers much quicker and they take better decisions on their career as well. Unfortunately, what we've seen in terms of statistics, and this is in Europe and the United States, that the majority of PhD students think they'll become academics. They fail to recognise the fact that perhaps only a very small percentage will. For example, in the UK, at Cambridge University, 10% of Cambridge PhD graduates become academics. 20% of their postdocs become academics. In what will be considered to be one of the leading research-intensive universities in the world, a tiny fraction, 10% become academics. One can only imagine what it is for much less performing research institutions. And this is not a bad thing, because the real translation here, and it was in fact, Jules Hoffman talked about this, I thought, very well the other night, where he talked about the need for curiosity and that need for curiosity to be translated. That is a real transferable skill. Curiosity and the ability to follow that up, being able to analyse complex problems with a doctorate behind you, is something of value right across society, not just in the academic sector. And I think that needs to be brought to the front, and our PhD programs need to focus on that by bringing together our students closer to their future employment sectors.